Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about getting bored. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, I am a software engineer who has gotten bored and wants to quit after 2 years. Is this normal? Yes, I would say so. Well, it depends a little bit. If you're bored with the industry, that's not so normal, perhaps. If you're bored with your job, that's very normal. The average time a software developer stays at one company is 2 to 4 years roughly, and the reason is very simple. It may not feel this way if you're a junior developer, but it doesn't actually take you that long to learn the entire company or how things work. It's going to go even faster when you are a senior developer or a more experienced developer. Usually in the beginning of things, it will take you a few years to just learn the ropes and learn how to use all the systems and tooling and the domain and all that good stuff. And it takes longer in the beginning of things because you're simply not all that experienced. But the more experience you acquire, the more patterns you're going to pick up on, and you're going to start to realize that you've been doing things in this way in one company, and it's not exactly the same thing in this company, but it's very similar. It's kind of the same thing. And that's the good indicator that you have acquired what I like to call core skills. The core skills are the skills that stay the same in practically every company, and it is the primary focus. It should be the primary focus of every single software developer who wants to be a professional to do that, to focus on those skills over everything else. And the simple reason is because there's so much in terms of tooling and practices and permutate. Like, the industry is massive, guys. There are so many things for you to learn, and you will never be able to be a specialist in everything. So the only way that you can sort of guard yourself is to learn the core skills and then adopt the specifics of different companies as you go along. Trying to learn everything to a master level is not possible. But within any given company, it won't take you more than 2 years if you're semi-experienced to basically learn everything. Uh, and so being bored, it can go even faster than that if depending on how you do work, because that's also a factor to know about. If you work in a company where they might have really strict processes or they have a very specific way of doing things, uh, you have less creativity, less freedom, less impact on things, and you're basically just well, you're a code factory. That's what you are. You really only you come in, pick up story, work on story, repeat. Like, you have no say in feature development, you have no say in the future of the company or any type of influence whatsoever. And even if you have good ideas, the company that you work in is at the point where the coders have become complacent. And this happens even in small startups. It is the best indicator, I would say. The strongest indicator to how well a company is doing is the level of the complacency in their developers. If you have usually, and this is usually something that happens in larger code bases, and it's a very good sign that you should start splitting out your code base into services and trying to do things in a different way and create a higher sensation of ownership. And that is when the developers just don't give a fuck anymore. That's where you are most likely right now. Most when you're bored or when you feel unmotivated to do the best that you can, it's a very good sign. I had this happen just the other day actually with my coworker, and he's a senior veteran. And because we're at this point in time moving out a section of the code that our team has ownership over into a separate application, which he thinks that we're just doing it because it's a nice thing, and I have a little bit of more of some more thoughts on this. And it was fun because he realized exactly that thing today. He said to me, Frederick, I have like I'm moving all this code from the main product, and I kind of now I'm at the end of this thing, and I have these things that I have to write for the main system in order to just make the switch nice, and I'm just trying to figure out how can I do this in like the cheapest, dirtiest way, because I mean I don't this is not my code anymore, like it's everybody else's code, and I go, yep. What you just felt there was a sensation of ownership, us and them, us and them. And in a really large code base, that is a big problem, because if everybody is on the same monolithic application, it's actually when something gets too big for us people, we humans are really bad at caring about something that feels too big. If you live in a small town, it's easy for you to care about your community than it is if you live in a major metropolitan city. It's simply too big. It's very hard for you to care, and you are facing exactly the same thing now. This is a psychological thing, and this is one of the. I'm not saying this or that about microservices, but this is one of the benefits of having small services, because it's easier for your team to be able to move around and make changes and actually care about the code that they are writing if they feel a clear sensation of ownership. And you can't give an entire company of people a monolithic application and then say, hey guys, you all own this together, and then expect everybody to feel as motivated, because any change that anybody wants to make or do in any way is actually really hard. It's not your thing, it's everybody's thing, and if everybody needs to be involved, I have to include everybody or make sure that I'm not breaking all these features for other people, or I have to inform people whenever I want to do something, and it means that people get very demotivated, and the incentive to make meaningful change and stimulate yourself goes down. And if you're bored after 2 years, it's highly likely that you have reached one of these 2 points, that you have either just learned all the things that are to be learned in that company, because you might be working in a very small company where there's not that much going on, and it doesn't actually take all that long for a software developer to learn all the things in a company. Or you might be working in an environment, as I said, where you simply don't have any real influence over the work or the code, and no, everybody's kind of apathetic, and there's no hunger in the company, and nothing kills motivation as quickly as that. And I don't want to scare you, but guys, there's a very strong likelihood that you will be in that exact situation. And here's the kicker: switching companies usually doesn't help. I have never worked with a senior coworker, and I've never personally either experienced that there is any company anywhere where you will just not have any problems. It's everywhere, every single company, no exclusions, no exceptions whatsoever. And so if you have gotten bored after working at a specific company for 2 years, you really need to figure out which one of these things that you're facing. Is the problem that you just don't find the work stimulating anymore? And then the really deep question there is, why don't you feel stimulated? Or is it the fact that you feel that you can't actually influence the work, or like you're demotivated because everybody else is demotivated? And these are tough questions. And if you can answer the reason why this is going on with you, and you can spot, if you can just raise your eyes from your monitor and look at the company, and you can spot the same thing in other people and start to pinpoint what you could do to solve this situation, well then, my friend, you have become a tech lead. Because that is the main challenge of any software leader, any person who is supposed to have any type of influence in a software company. The main challenge for any software manager is to find a way, a sustainable way where the developers are producing results in line with what the company wants, in a way where they feel stimulated, where they care, where they take ownership. And if you can solve that problem, I think, and you can spot it, that's something you could try. And if you can't find a way to do that in your company and you're still bored, then quit and try another company. But I promise you, the same problem is going to come your way, and you're going to have to figure out some way of dealing with that situation sooner or later. So what I want you to take away from this is that it's very normal for a software engineer to be bored after 2 years. Statistically, you're going to stay at your company for 2 to 4 years. And that is roughly the amount of time it's going to take you to learn all the things that are worth learning within the company, usually. And you can move to another company and try something different if it's just that the work isn't stimulating or the tooling isn't stimulated or something like that. But you should also know that most of the time the reason why people get demotivated and bored in a company is because they simply can't do work in the way that they would like. They can't be involved the way they would like. In some companies, it's practically impossible for you to change the way that the company does work. So you can't influence the situation. You just have to move on to another company. But in some companies, they are, especially in the startups, usually very open to trying out new things. And so you could, before you just decide to leave, figure out, is there a way for me to improve the situation for myself and all of my coworkers? And I promise you, if you take the initiative on this and you can make that sort of thing happen, that's going to be a very good step for you in your career. I promise you, it is a valuable skill, and the people who master this are the people who lead IT companies. Have a great day.